Your Honor, everything's ready.
Yep, I see it. Looks like we've got everybody except Josh. But I think we ought to go ahead and get started. Let's welcome everybody to our Monday, April 5th work session. And it looks like we're going to jump right into an update from Catch Des Moines. So let's turn it over quickly to Greg Edwards. And Greg, tell us what's going on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, council and city staff. I'm going to share screen here.
Nice sport coat. I wish you'd worn a tie.
I'll go get one. Hang on. I'm having difficulty here. Did you guys allow me to share screen here?
Yes, let me make sure that mine stopped. Are you guys still seeing mine?
Nope.
Okay, then you should be able to, Greg, without problem. You're a co-host, so.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Here we go.
Okay.
Well, let me try this. All right, are you guys seeing this?
No, Greg, we're just seeing you so far.
Hey, and Mayor, I can take a shot at this. Let's see if this.
Can you, can somebody pull that up? Now, are you seeing that?
Yep.
Yep,
Greg.
Scott's got it.
Greg, I can advance for you.
Scott, thank you. Sorry about that. I don't know what, why this wasn't working. Well, thanks again for having me, and I'll be brief. I think most of you are aware that year that we've all had, and in particular, the travel industry has been pretty much devastated by this whole pandemic. Go ahead to the next slide, please.
Maybe. Oh.
Just some facts here. Since the pandemic hit really hard last March, we've had 377 events, meetings, conventions, sports, etc., that canceled. Economic impact of more than $317 million on our local economies. Right here in our own situation at your CBB, We experienced a 54% budget cut this past year. We eliminated 8 jobs from our team, a 25% cut of our total team. We cut salaries. We froze all incentive plans. All kinds of different programs obviously got cut from this past year. We're beginning to see a little bit of a bounce back, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Go ahead in the next slide, please. Our board, which approves our total goals for the year for our event booking goals, did reduce our goals this year to 220 total. We really have been struggling to meet that goal up until the last couple of months, where we're starting to see some upturn in bookings and things beginning to lighten up a little bit. Next slide, please. Implemented a lot of new strategies when this thing totally hit. Started communicating immediately with our partners, primarily the hotels, community. We did weekly hotel meetings. We now currently do a monthly hotel meeting and send them bi-weekly updates via email on things that we're working on, and any other things that may impact them in the next couple of weeks within the community. We monitored and communicated all cancellations to all of our partners, facilitated postponed events, and really tried to, instead of having groups cancel, really encourage them to just postpone and rebook, which we were pretty good with doing most of that. There are still a lot of groups that just totally canceled, but we are in hopes that they will come back eventually. We promoted, along with the Greater Des Moines Partnership, the hashtag DSM Local Challenge, supporting our local restaurants, retail shops, attractions, etc. We came out with a hotel bond program, which was very successful. We had 35 hotels participate in that program, which essentially was you buy a $100 bond, and 60 days later, that bond was worth $150 for your stay at a hotel. Did a lot in supporting local resources on our website, continue to do so. We did pull off our Des Moines Restaurant Week the latter part of August of last year, which was very successful. Did a lot of new videos on our website. If you haven't seen those, they're at our catchdesmoines.com website, including a lot of outdoor activities promoting our trail systems and our lakes and parks and things like that. We found out early on that people did want to travel, but they wanted to stay and do outdoor type activities. Go ahead, next slide. This is a star report that we receive on a weekly basis, really showing occupancies, average daily rates in comparison to last year as well. The blue line is last year. The black line is what we're currently seeing in occupancy this year. The green line is average daily rate for this year. And the red line was the red line was occupancy for last year. And the blue line was the average daily rate for last year. But you can see a lot of peaks and valleys. The tough part hit really last April, where we really dropped in occupancy. A lot of the major hotels, the larger hotels in the city, and really the metro area were struggling to even run at 10% occupancy for a long time. A lot of those employees are still laid off. They're slowly coming back. It's estimated that in central Iowa alone, about 21,000 people are employed in our industry, and about half of those are still in a layoff situation, but they are slowly ticking back. We're starting to see some upturn in the occupancy now. Most all of our occupancy is based on either activities that we're getting in here and or just leisure travel, people wanting to get away and spend a weekend. Ironically, our weekend occupancies have been higher than weekday, which is pretty unusual. It's the business travel thing that still just really is hurting, as business travel still has not bounced back yet. Go ahead. This is another chart that we share with our board monthly, showing you again average daily rate. Last year, red line. Budget for this year is the blue line, and where we are actually is the green line. We did a good job with our budget this year, coming in very conservatively, kind of ahead of budget right now, although we do tend to see this last quarter, which will end on June 30th, to be a little bit down from what we budgeted, but we still should be just fine financially on what we budgeted and what we're spending. So everything's in line. A lot of new strategies, as I mentioned earlier, that we put in place, really kept in touch with our big clients constantly. We have a national planners board that we've met with at least every couple of months, keeping them in touch with what's going on in Des Moines, getting their feedback on what they're doing with their associations or sports groups or what have you. We have had some good opportunities in the short term. We have booked a USA Gymnastics. So we booked a huge AAU basketball tournament later this summer. Working still on a big horse show on the fairgrounds. Another big basketball tournament that we actually were able to lock in here last summer in July. We're bringing that back in July this year, the Nike Tournament of Champions. There was an event scheduled for the McCormick Place in Chicago last summer, and obviously they couldn't do it in Illinois. So we reached out and extended them an invite to come here, and that worked out really well. Of course, the Lauritsen Skate Park events, you've seen all the good news on that. That's going to be a great event with the DO Tour here later in June. And we also just booked the Future Farmers of America convention that had been in Ames for many years, and they were struggling with some things up in Ames, so decided to come back to Des Moines. So that's a good, nice little piece of business for us as well. Had a lot of site visits actually the last couple of weeks, which has been very encouraging, including Sports ETA, which is the former National Association of Sports Commissions group, which would be a great group for us to host here, looking at us for 2025. Junior high school rodeo, which will happen later in June, was in town. The AAU group, Jam On It, was in town. And we booked a big ethanol national conference in July, actually, that was scheduled to be in Minneapolis this summer, and they wanted to pull out of Minneapolis. So we were able to book that. About 1,000 people in July, which was a nice shot in the arm too, so to speak. Upcoming events are still holding in there. Pool players, regional volleyball, FFA, as I mentioned. We're going to host the NAIA men's volleyball championships in Des Moines this year at Hy-Vee Hall at the Iowa Event Center. Of course, Drake relays are scheduled to go on. And I think you're all aware the Ironman is scheduled in June, as well as World Pork Expo, the junior high school rodeo, youth soccer, the President's Cup, which you guys helped us with so much, will take place at County Soccer facility in July. And then we're hosting the big International Lions Clubs of America and Canada later this fall. So we do have some good stuff on the books. Our goal all throughout this within marketing was to really inspire travel as much as possible for the future and to really keep Greater Des Moines in front of mind and people. Did a lot in the social media markets, really cut out all our television and radio ads due to budget cuts, but I'll show you some numbers here in a second. Our content creation and content advertising all shifted as well, really again to keep Des Moines in the front of people's minds when thinking about travel in the future. Go ahead. Just a quick example of some of the stuff. I talked about the outdoor stuff that we were promoting, a lot of the restaurant stuff that we were promoting, did a lot of local blogs, videos. I think we've got about 20 different videos out there on our website, newsletter, social media posts, etc. Results were very good in all of this effort. You can see these results. Our media views were up 41%, over 400,000 social media interactions. We're up almost 80%. Our clicks on our website up 78.8%. Over 550 hours of YouTube videos have been watched just last year. And our blogs were up 42.4%. So good results. A lot of new projects throughout the metro. We're really excited about all of these, including the Mid-American Energy Recplex on West Des Moines. Of course, the skate park is going to be a big boost for everybody here in Des Moines. The Drake Des Moines Public Schools soccer stadium will hopefully move forward. The Grimes project, the Market District project here in the city, the Central Iowa Water Trails, again, throughout the metro, great project. The Johnston Ignite project, another sports facility. The Pro Iowa Soccer Stadium is still obviously working and getting some legs. The Buccaneers project at Merle Hay Mall. And now the newly announced Valley West Mall project as well. So just to name a few on there. I think you all agree that tourism will spark the economy recovery. We're already starting to see a little bit of that, whether it be in our restaurants, attractions, shopping, hotels and venues, and of course, our arts and culture. On that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
All right, anybody? Josh?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Greg. I've got a couple different questions. One, could you address, some of the bills up at the legislature have gotten a lot of attention nationally about the state not being particularly welcoming. How has that impacted your efforts to recruit events? I know, for example, the NCAA pulled out of North Carolina over similar bills that were being considered up at our legislature. I know that's on, I think we've got 2022 or 2023 for the basketball tournament. What impact are those discussions having on what you're trying to do?
Yeah, we keep a close eye on that. We have a lobbyist up there, actually a couple lobbyists. One works actually for the travel industry of Iowa, and then one works for Team Iowa and does some side stuff for us. But yeah, we keep a close eye on that. We've put the word in their heads that these would affect us, like the bathroom bill situation. Probably would have a downturn on us, and totally opposing that. So yeah, we just keep an eye on things, and we want obviously Iowa to be a very welcoming state. We're known as Iowa Nice, and we need to carry that forward.
All right, Carl.
Oh, thank you, Mayor County. Greg, do you have a target date when the Hotel Fort Des Moines is going to reopen? Or I guess open, reopen may not be the correct term, but grand opening.
Councilman, I don't. I've reached out recently because initially they were going to open in June, and now I'm just hearing kind of rumors on the street, and I have not been able to reach Raj Patel on that to get confirmation. So I can't tell you. They were posed to open this summer, but I don't have a definitive answer for you. I'm sorry.
But essentially, they're all ready to go, right? They just need to pull the trigger, and the rooms are done, the lobby's done, and
yeah, I think they have a couple of small things they need to yet put into place. But yeah, I think, for the most part, they're ready to roll. I think, really their decision not to open was probably smart on their behalf. Plus it would add another 280 rooms to the inventory downtown during this pandemic time. So I think they just have been moving cautiously.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, Josh, is your hand still up?
It is. So, Greg, you mentioned business travel is down and still down. It's anyone's guess what business travel will look like after we're farther through this and back to some level of normalcy. But a lot of folks are speculating that business travel is going to be down some percentage. I mean, what I'd be curious, what would the impact be if the new normal for business travel after this is 75% of what it was before? What are we talking about, but in terms of budget impact and others?
That would be huge, Councilman. Business travel is really what sustains a lot of the hotels and restaurants throughout the metro, especially your midweek, your Monday through Thursday night business is primarily business travel. We'll just have to switch strategies and start trying to find conventions and other events that are going to fill those midweek type room nights, which has never been our real focus in the past because we've always focused on the weekends and soft time periods. But we're keeping a close eye on that. I think there's still a lot of mixed reviews out there. What you hear on the media side, I don't know that I totally agree with that. I think people, and we're seeing this now, we're seeing pent-up demand that people are really willing to start traveling again and getting out, especially more and more as the vaccines get into people's arms. So still optimistic on that. And, we keep in touch with the major corporations here in town to try to monitor what they're doing. They're still not doing much yet. They say by maybe the third, fourth quarter, they may start doing some more travel and things like that. So I think the jury's still out on it.
How would we respond if we start seeing that be a trend? I mean, I know a piece of it would be trying to get conventions to fill during the week, but everyone is going to be using that same strategy. I mean, what else do you think we should be thinking about? And are there any things that we can try and be ahead of the curve in thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. I don't know what to tell you. Obviously we will be promoting with our local businesses anyway, and to bring back their travel, bring back their people in the offices. I think all the companies know that how much they do help restaurants in particular. You look at the restaurants downtown that are not open for lunch right now, which is a good example of people not being in the office. So that's a great question. I don't think it's going to drop anywhere near 75%. But it is a situation we need to look into and focus on.
All right. Greg, thank you very much. Any closing remarks you want to make?
No, I will just say, Mayor, thank you. As you all know, Mayor serves on our executive board and has been very active with us ever since he's come on. So I appreciate his input, and I hear from you all occasionally via email or text message. So keep in touch, keep up the good work you all are doing, and we'll continue to move forward.
All right, Greg, you do the same. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, let's move on with the training requirements. I believe Malcolm, you and Joshua and Sue Ann, I think, are maybe gonna do this, but turn it over to whoever's gonna lead this.
Mayor, Council, this is Sue Donovan. I'm trying to share my screen right now.
I see landlord training up.
So you sent me an email this morning saying I was going to do it. So.
Okay, go ahead, do it. I got confused.
Okay, all right, I'll flip back. I lost it, now I'll flip back. Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Joshua V. Barr with the Des Moines Civil and Human Rights Commission, as well as here with Sue Ann Donovan from Neighborhood Inspections and Malcolm Hankins, Assistant City Manager. This morning, we'll be doing a presentation on landlord training throughout the city. And this training suggestion really came about through the Bridging the Gap work. If you recall, in 2019, one of the biggest concerns of the city was actually the top vote getter was trying to create more stable housing so we can create stable communities here in the city. And one of the recommendations from the 2020 joint meeting was a landlord training, fair housing training for rental property certification. After making that recommendation to you all and given the green light to move forward on that, we were able to meet with the city manager's office, who made the recommendation that maybe we want to combine neighborhood inspections into this to make a more comprehensive training for landlords and property owners who rented here in the city of Des Moines. So reached out with Sue Ann Donovan, Chris Johansson, and they actually thought it was a great idea so that we could actually move towards Des Moines becoming a community free from discrimination and barriers to fair housing. So why rental code and fair housing training? The goal ultimately is to improve the rental stock in the city, and the focus is to be proactive rather than reactive, to ensure that owners and managers understand what is understood of them as rental property owners on the front end to reduce complaints to neighborhood inspections and to the Civil Human Rights Departments by tenants on the back end and improve overall service. This would ensure compliance by making sure they understand code requirements and also increase accountability through successful completion of the training program. They'll understood what responsible property maintenance is. Inspection staff will be required to take the training to understand what's being expected of owners and managers, and that way everyone operates on the same page. Some of the best practices in this work, you have Dubuque, who has their successful rental property training program. It's a program offered 2 times a year. It's mandatory for property owners and managers. Some of the topics include identifying quality tenants, writing rental agreements, handling evictions, property security and fire safety, police services, rental property inspection to-dos. Cedar Rapids also has a SAFE CR, which stands for Secure and Friendly Environments in Cedar Rapids. Like Dubuque, it's held twice a year and it's required for new landlords. Again, some of the topics included the background checks, prevention through environmental design, eviction, fair housing standards, gangs and graffiti, property maintenance standards, and rental agreements. From the fair housing end, one of the things that this training, once this training is finalized, we would introduce them to what the Civil Human Rights Department does, kind of walk them through the history. It will be an introduction to fair housing laws, really focusing on common issues that they may see regarding fair housing, and also talk about hot button issues such as disability rights, service animals, and explaining the investigative process. Again, we estimate that this training would be a half-day training, so Fair housing would take up the first half, and then we estimate that the second half would be taken up by neighborhood inspections. And I'll be passing it over to Sue Ann to talk about the neighborhood inspections portion.
So this is Sue Ann Donovan. I am the Deputy Director of Neighborhood Services. So what we're looking at for the rental code is walking through the process for renting a property, how the computer program will work with the business license and the rental license, how they set up an inspection, how they pay fees, and point out that the owners are responsible for maintenance and upkeep of our properties in the city of Des Moines. Next slide. So basically, we'll go through inspections and what we're going to require, what our inspectors look at, general maintenance on the exterior, general maintenance on the interior. We look at the basement, cellar, the foundation of the house. We look at maximum allowed occupancy, mechanical systems, plumbing systems, electrical systems, and like I said, the general maintenance of the property. Next slide. The other thing that we'll want to talk about is information on when permits will be required and what the permitting process is, inspections on fire suppression systems, smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, those systems that need to be up to code. We'll do things like a furnace inspection will be requested to make sure it's functioning properly. Just the general upkeep of the water heaters and plumbing systems, and what documentation and permits will be required to assure us that those systems are working correctly. Next slide. We've been talking a lot about workmanlike repairs, and we'll go through some of that in the training. What is a workmanlike repair? And things installed in accordance with manufacturer's instructions, in a skilled manner, to look and act like it's supposed to, and be of a quality material. So we're working still with landlords on the concept of workmanlike repairs, and we'd like to handle that more through the training program. Next slide. The other thing we want to do is introduce landlords to the crime-free multi-housing training that's offered through the Des Moines Police Department. That gets into things like screening tenants, how to maintain a safe environment around and within buildings. That will not be a portion of the training, but it will introduce them to what is offered through crime-free multi-housing so that they can seek that out if they think that that would help them better manage their properties. Next slide.
Sue Ann, do you want to take questions as you go along? I see Joe's hand is up.
I think we're just about done. Joshua, is the next slide questions?
I think there's like 2 slides left. So.
Okay. Or I can take Joe's question now. That'd be fine.
Joe, why don't you go ahead?
Mayor, thank you. Sue Ann, question about the crime-free multifamily training. Why wouldn't this be part of the training? Why would we make all managers and landlords come back and do it again a different time? Why wouldn't we include that as part of this training also?
We were
So
trying
very
to
important, and it's been somewhat successful program, very successful.
I think it's a great program, and I do believe it's successful. We were trying to keep our training down to a half a day. We haven't reached, well, and we certainly can reach out to the police department and see if they have the capacity to be part of the training. That's a good idea. I'm not discounting it at all. I think it's a great program. So we can certainly loop them in, see if they have the capacity to be part of our training.
Okay, thank you.
So Joshua, can you go to the next slide. So for next steps, I think we need to amend Chapter 60, which is the rental code, in connection with the InterGov rollout. We need to still work on finding a program that we can use for training. We're going to decide if we can offer it as an online training, although some landlords are requesting in-person training. So we might be able to do sort of a combination of twice a year, like Dubuque and Cedar Rapids in person, but then also allow it to be taken online for those that want to take it at their own convenience. So we're still looking for the computer program to develop the online portion. We're hoping to have it available in the fall of this year. I guess I said 2022 and I meant 2021, with the training required for license renewals after January 1st of 2021. So we'll start rolling it out over the summer to be ready by fall, is that what we're anticipating. I think in that now I can take questions and Joshua can take questions.
All right, Carl.
Thank you, Mayor County. So the program that Shauna operates for the Des Moines Police Department, isn't that for large or generally for larger multifamily units?
Yes, that is what Shauna is. A lot of her emphasis is on the larger apartment complexes. I think they work with smaller landlords on a single family duplex, but that is certainly not their main
That's not their
goal.
forte, is it?
It's not their main goal. It's the
Right.
multis.
And I believe that if a manager leaves and either goes to a different building complex or a different property owner, that certification travels with the manager if they change jobs.
Yes, that's my understanding also.
All right. Well, Shauna has an excellent reputation in the Des Moines area, but she's just like one person.
I totally understand that. That's, we'll certainly talk to her and see how she wishes to become a part of this.
Thank you.
Joe, another question? Let's move on to Connie.
In this program is, did you say this training is mandatory, and if they don't take it, what happens?
It will affect their rental license. We can do a number of things. It could contribute to a shorter certificate if they don't pass or take, I guess it's not pass or fail, it's take the training. I suppose it could be that they don't get a rental license if they haven't successfully taken the training. That's sort of the part of why it's in Chapter 60, is the incentive is through the license program.
Just based on what we've seen recently, I think it's pretty important that we make sure they get through the program. And then the other issue is how many times we inspect and all the things that we will be doing for inspection going forward. So maybe at some other point, we can get an update on that, how the InterGov will work and how it's, hopefully we'll make it a more successful system of monitoring these rental properties.
Right, and I anticipate we will have a work session on InterGov and some of the other initiatives that we're looking for through the rental program.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry I was muted.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I do have a couple questions. Thank you. Just to follow up to Carl's question, wouldn't it be time wouldn't it help if they did the crime-free all at once and give it to everybody twice a year, even if you're small, or you have just a 2 or 1 unit? It would be nice to have the information that she's giving the bigger housing projects to also the smaller ones. And this would be a way that everybody would have the same treatment and same information throughout the whole entire city. I guess I don't see the reason that we wouldn't do that for everyone, or at least offer it to everyone.
I think the idea is to have a portion of the training cover those points that are also covered in the police training on sort of a high level, so everybody understands what those points are. But if they want to delve in deeper, they can go take the training through the police department. But like I said, we can certainly work with Shauna on how she wants to manage that.
And I'll add that, you know, the crime-free multifamily housing is not required. There are certain cities such as Dubuque that has made it a requirement and a part of and incorporated into a lot of what we're talking about. And some of the crime-free multifamily housing focuses not just on policing, but it also adds fire safety and other portions as well. I mean, our office presents, but it's because they cover so much, is very short. This training would expand upon that. And if you added the crime-free part, that may make it a full day. But that's a discussion that we can have. But presently, the crime-free in the city is not required for all rental properties here in the city, but it is a possibility to incorporate it like a number of other cities have done around the country in regards to the training.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know that it's not required. I think it's highly suggested, and I think it's successful. And I think most of the larger multifamily housing projects, the managers have gone through it. It would be sure nice, the individual homes or duplexes and that are sitting in the middle of our neighborhood having the same problems, or if not worse, because the landlords haven't had that training. That's where I think it would become a benefit that we offer that training all at once at the same time, whether we can cut it down to a half a day. I like the idea of doing an online training. I guess my next question would be, what's the cost? And is that going to be included in the license fee or the rental fee license going forward as they get their rental license? Is this training going to be included in the fee? Is this an additional fee that could be tacked onto it?
Councilmember Gatto, I think that's a very good question. Right now, we have sort of looked at it like it will be part of the license fee. Now, at the same time that we're discussing this, we've also been discussing looking at the fee schedule on a more holistic approach. So if we get into a fee study or looking at fees, then we could build in how this should be added to the fee schedule or how it would affect the fees. That is a conversation. Again, I hate to keep kicking things down the road, but we have already started internally discussing, and we'll be bringing back when I do a presentation on the rollout for the code amendments that are sort of led by InterGov. We were going to talk about that during the discussion on fees.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Right,
it's
Josh.
important.
Thanks, Mayor.
Did it?
Yeah. I wanted to ask if there's currently anything related to energy efficiency that we're going to be providing any education or sort of technical resources to landlords during this training, and if not, could we think about what we could do to add that to this? Minimally, this is, I think, an opportunity to get in front of landlords and get them thinking about what they can do from an energy efficiency perspective. And we know that the utility burden is significant, particularly in rental properties. When we improve efficiency, I think we also know that that improves the likelihood that the tenant's going to be paying their rent because their utilities are lower. And this is a good opportunity. It also improves habitability as well. And this is a good opportunity to get some information in front of landlords.
Councilmember Mandelbaum, we haven't really delved into energy efficiency yet. I see that as a ongoing conversation that we need to have. Energy efficiency from a landlord perspective is touchy. They will inevitably pass whatever improvements required onto the tenants through increased rent. It'd be interesting to see if the increased rent is balanced out by lower utility costs. And I certainly think that we need to look at that. At this point, though, it is not anticipated to be part of this training, although we might be able to put in a sort of a information about energy efficiency.
Right, that's what I was asking about. I wasn't at this point asking about any new requirements, but as we're giving landlords resources, certainly making sure they're aware of, for example, the Mid-American programs, perhaps providing some general education about the value of landlords implementing energy efficiency and letting them make decisions based on that. I mean, it might be valuable to engage Jeremy Caron and see if he has any thoughts or is aware of some best practices from elsewhere that could be incorporated without a lot of effort, just in terms of getting resources in front of landlords at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that and see how we can fit it into the training.
All right, Joe, apologize, did I cut you off?
Well, that's fine. I just, going back to the fees, I just think it's important that we look at it as one fee included for all of it, no matter what we're going to do, because just as Sue Ann had just pointed out to Josh, everything that we do is going to be passed on to the tenant. There's no landlord that's going to eat this cost. And I think that we need to be aware, whatever we do, we're either, we're increasing rent by doing this. Now, we're also increasing some really good things that should be part of it for our neighborhoods and for the tenants. But we need to be very aware that whatever we do and whatever fee it is, it's going to be passed directly on to the tenant. So more of just a comment than a question. So I appreciate you getting back to me, Mayor.
All right. Scott, any, Josh, is your hand still up? All right,
No, it's
Scott,
not.
any comments?
No, Mayor, I think this was just good guidance for us to bring this over the finish line this summer yet.
All right, good. Well, thank everybody for attending this morning, and want to thank Greg for his presentation, and Joshua Barr and Sue Ann and Malcolm for the work here on this rental training program. Just for everybody's understanding, moving into City Council tonight, we don't have a closed session today, and but for everybody, remember we have our housing meeting is going to start at 4:15. So thank you all for attending this morning, and see you about 4:15. Have a great day.